We have a big primary election that is coming up on June 5th. Early voting for that primary starts May 8th. Eric Griego, former city councilor, a current state senator for New Mexico. Thank you for being here so much.
Thank you for having me. There's a basic fairness question that we all believe in, which is that if we want good schools, if we want our seniors to be taken care of, if we want to take care of our veterans and build the kind of infrastructure we need, that, you know, folks who are in the 1%, the millionaires, shouldn't be paying half the rate that the average teacher pays. Of the Democrats, I can tell you I'm the only one who's actually sponsored legislation just like that in the state Senate. I'm afraid that we're forgetting that we are in this together, that it's sort of becoming the law of the jungle, that, you know, the folks with the best lobbyists in Washington, the corporations with the best lobbying firms are going to get all the tax breaks. And, you know, middle-class folks, good luck, get in line, you know. People want a champion up there, not someone who's going to be a go-along to get along, this quo kind of politician. I'm certainly not that. I'm someone who really believes in reform, has achieved reform, and who's going to fight for working class folks. Look, my mom was a single mom, 2 jobs, 2 minimum wage jobs. She raised 4 kids, public schools. She had a dignified retirement because of Social Security and Medicare. And I'll be darned if I'm going to let Social Security and Medicare be on the table for seniors who are struggling, or public school. I think the reason why we're leading on the Democratic side, we have about 18,000 donors, average contribution of $30. What that says is that my bosses are going to be average working folks, not super PAC. Heather Wilson, as a 4- or 5-term incumbent in 2006, narrowly held the seat against someone who was often called a progressive or a liberal, Patsy Madrid.
About 600 votes, I think.
Exactly. So the seat has been trending heavily toward mainstream Democrats. 08, Heinrich won this by 12 points. And then 10, when all of his colleagues lost their seats in these swing districts, we kept it. Campaign and ethics reform. We're all talking about it now. There's only one person who has a record on, that's me. In 2002, I sponsored predatory lending to go after some of these before the mortgage crisis, to go after, on city council, to ask the legislature to go after these predatory lendings, making millionaires pay their fair share. Twice I introduced legislation starting in 2008 to do that. Campaign and ethics reform, I passed public financing for the city of Albuquerque, which meant none of the mayoral candidates the last time they ran, including the current mayor, had to take 1 penny from corporate or labor or other interests. I passed an inspector general bill in the city of Albuquerque. And I'll take that to Washington. I'm gonna be in Washington. One of the first things I want to work on is we've got to come to terms with how we get corporate money out of politics, because it's really destroying our system. I think until we start electing different kinds of people who have a long track record of taking on reform. You know, I had a hard time getting my colleagues to sign on to my Independent Ethics Commission bill. Didn't get very much of a fair hearing. A bill to at least have people wait 1 year between being a legislator and a lobbyist. All the things that make people cynical about, you know, career politicians. You know, and the sad news is none of those got any traction, because it questions the status quo. You're not going to win these fights in 1 or 2 years. These are multi-year fights. But the more folks we send to Congress and to the Senate and to the legislature who are willing to take on the fight, we need a critical mass. We need a critical mass. And we don't have it in the Congress. We don't have it in the U.S. Senate. We certainly don't have it in our legislature, I can tell you that. The governor, and I don't agree with Governor Martinez on a lot of things, but one thing that the chambers and the labor unions, everybody agreed on, is we had to do something to get this economy going. She proposed $212 million in a capital bill, good projects, and I carried on the floor. But I thought that was the right thing to do. At the same time, there are some core values that you can't negotiate on. I won't negotiate on Medicare, on cutting Medicare. It's just off the table. I won't negotiate on cutting Social Security. That's off the table. And because our seniors deserve better. What we can do to make that fund solvent is stop allowing people to, after they make $106,000 a year, to stop paying Social Security tax. That alone would make the fund solvent for another generation. We can't start asking seniors to bear the burden of this. It's just not fair. It's un-American. The Ryan budget, the Republican budget, puts Medicare into a voucher system that if you're a senior with chronic illness or with a catastrophic illness, you're going to end up having to pay out of your pocket, maybe lose your home, maybe lose your retirement. That's not what we believe as Americans. We just don't believe that. And I don't think anybody on either side of the aisle really believes that's the best way to balance this budget. Some companies have paid zero taxes last year. I don't think it's a Republican or Democratic issue. I think we got to come back to what we view as Americans. Is this a government for the corporations and the wealthiest 1%, or is this a government of the people by the people? I think we need to hasten the transition to renewable energy. The sooner we do it, the sooner we're going to lead the world economy. The sooner we wean ourselves from these very, very environmentally damaging energy sources, the sooner we're going to create the jobs of the future and lead the world economy. So I think in New Mexico in particular, solar, wind, geothermal, biomass, biofuels, Sandia, even Los Alamos can help us lead that transition to lead the world in renewable energy.